Hello and welcome. Assalamualaikum. Hi, my name is Suraya, and today my team, Adam, Afif, Aida, and Fatimi, and myself included, of course, we will be presenting everything you need to know about pragmatics. So let's start. Okay, the book defines pragmatics as an invisible meaning, or how we recognize what is meant even when it is not actually said or written. Okay, pragmatics, it means practical or logical. So if a friend calls you pragmatic, or a family member calls you pragmatic person, that means you're someone who thinks in a practical and logical sense. Pragmatics is the definite opposite of semantics, because if you are referring to semantics, it has something to do with the actual definition of a word or a text. But pragmatics refers to words that are used in a much more practical sense. So in other ways, pragmatic studies how people speak, not in the literal way, but in an indirect way. Okay, let me give you an example. Will you crack open the door? It doesn't mean you have to go get a hammer and crack it like you would crack an egg, not like that. It means open the door a little bit so air can enter and you don't feel hot anymore. Another example is I heart you. I heart you. Heart here doesn't refer to the organ in your body that's pumping blood to support life. It means love. It refers to the emotion love. So our interpretation of the meaning of the sign is not based solely on the words, but what we think the writer or speaker intended to communicate. So that's for the introduction.
Deixis. Deictic expressions comes from the word deixis, a Greek word which means pointing via language. We have three main types of deixis, which are first, person deixis, which refers to person. Second, spatial deixis, which refers to places. And the last one is temporal deixis, which refers to time. As person deixis refers to person, so the example for person deixis are like me, you, ours, that girl, him, her. And then for spatial deixis, which refers to places, we can give the example as like here, there, behind me, in front of me, over there, those hills. And then for temporal deixis, which refers to time, we can give the example like last night, today, tomorrow. That's it. Okay, what is deixis being used for? There are some sentences in English that we cannot understand it if we don't know who is speaking, to whom it is speak for, where and when. For example, you should have been here last week. So, it is a vague word. Who is you? Where is here? And when is last week? So if you break the word I gave you just now, you is an example for person deixis, here is an example for spatial deixis, and last week is an example for temporal deixis. That's it for me.
So moving on to the next part of learning pragmatics is reference. So reference is an act which a speaker or a writer uses language to enable a listener or a reader to identify something. So to perform an act of reference, we can use proper nouns such as someone's name like Rashid, Jamal, or even a pet's name, Coco, or anything like that, and other nouns and phrases just like a friend, a writer, a reader, a speaker, a seller, and also pronouns is also can be used as a reference. Under reference, there is inference. So inference is the additional information used by the listener to create a connection between what is said and what must be meant. So, for example, if I say that I want to borrow your Toyota, so you must be thinking, you want to borrow my Toyota. So which means that I want to borrow your car. Because Toyota is commonly known as cars, not like the whole company or anything, not as a person's name. So if Toyota is the name of the car company, then Toyota can be used to identify as a whole car. So which means that the reader, the listener, can be comprehensive in understanding the words that I am trying to say, because they can make their own inference in what am I trying to say. So just like the example of, she is wearing Versace. She is wearing Alexander McQueen. So, which means that she's not wearing an actual person. She does not have Alexander McQueen all around her, but she is. But we can conclude that she is wearing a designer clothing designed by Alexander McQueen. So that is inference. The second one under reference is anaphora. So anaphora is the second or subsequent referring expression. Let me give you a sentence. Jamal went to the supermarket. He bought milk and biscuits. So Jamal here is the antecedent, which is the first thing that is when the noun is mentioned, and he bought milks and biscuits. So the he is the anaphora, which refers to Jamal. The second time it is used to refer to Jamal. Okay, so the next thing is, there's also cataphora, which reverses the antecedent anaphora relationship by beginning with a pronoun, then later revealing more specific information. So, for example, it is believed to be dead. The fish is literally rotting. So, in this situation, the pronoun is put in front. It is believed to be dead. The it is put in front, and later we know that the fish is the subject, is the noun. Is the fish is literally rotting. So this is cataphora when the pronoun is mentioned at the first of the sentence. So the connection between an antecedent and an anaphoric expression is created through a pronoun. An anaphoric expression has to have a pronoun to consider it as an anaphoric expression.
Next point, presupposition. Presupposition is what a speaker or writer assumes is true or known by a listener or reader. Okay, so for example, if someone tells you, hey, your brother is looking for you, so there is an obvious presupposition that you have a brother. Okay, so for presupposition, there is a test called constancy under negation. Okay, so it involves comparing a sentence with its negative version and identifying which presupposition remains true. Okay, so another example is whether you say my car is a wreck or my car is not a wreck. There is still underlying presupposition that you have a car. Okay, I have a car, that remains true.
Okay, moving on to pragmatic markers. So speakers have their ways to indicate their utterances and how they are interpreted. So they can use short forms like well, I don't know, I mean. These are called pragmatic markers, and they can be used to mark a speaker's attitude. For example, the phrase is indicating a knowledge that is being shared. So if I say, yesterday I went to the One Direction concert, the band with the 5 British guys, that's how it goes. And also the phrase I mean is an indication of clarifying or correcting something. Okay, other than that, a recent change of function has turned the phrase I don't know into a pragmatic marker. So, I don't know usually means I don't know. It's pretty self-explanatory. When someone goes up to you and you don't know, asks you a question and you don't know the answer to it, you say I don't know. but it has evolved into a term of disagreement. Okay, for example, Lee says, I'm not really fond of Edinburgh. You know, I don't like Edinburgh. It's so cold and it's so drab and it's always cold there. And then Jen's like, oh, I don't know. I really enjoyed going to the festival there last year. So I don't know here doesn't mean that, oh, I don't know what Edinburgh is or yada yada yada, but by appearing hesitant about disagreeing, Jen can signal a desire to be not to challenge the other speaker, and it seems to be a way of politeness. So it brings politeness in their interaction. The term I don't know. So that's it for pragmatic markers.
Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to Dr. Sharul. My name is Aida Nadiah and today I am going to talk about the politeness in pragmatics. So first of all, we are going to talk about what exactly is politeness. Linguistic politeness can be defined as the ways in which language is employed in conversation to show consideration for the feelings and desires of one's interlocutors, to create and uphold interpersonal relationships, and also to comply with the rules of what society or one's culture considers appropriate behavior. The first accounts that do research about the politeness in language use contemporary theoretical pragmatics and sociology methods. They regarded politeness as a set of maxims, which is to give options and also motivating linguistic choices, or as paying linguistic attention to an individual's wish to be liked and to do as one pleases. However, the research started to find more and more problems regarding the theories as the time goes by. Therefore, there are two common strategies that can be used to tackle these problems that happen with the theories. So these two common strategies are known as positive politeness strategies and negative politeness strategies. First, positive politeness strategies. Positive politeness strategies intended to avoid giving offense by highlighting friendliness. These strategies including juxtaposing criticism with compliments, establishing common ground, using jokes and nicknames to make it look friendlier. For example, there is a one most popular feedback which known as the feedback sandwich. It means to give compliments before and after criticism. And the next one is the negative politeness strategies. Negative politeness strategies intended to avoid giving offense by showing deference. It includes questioning, hedging, and presenting disagreements as opinions to fight with the points that are given.
My last but not least point, it is speech act. Speech act is divided into two, which is direct and indirect speech act. So we are going to go through what is speech act really. Okay, so speech act is described as an action that involves language, such as commanding, requesting, questioning, or informing. Okay, so for the specific example to help make you understand more, it is okay. For example, I'll be there at 6. Okay, so it is just not you uttering that you will be there at 6, but you seem to be performing speech act, which is promising that, okay, like for example, you'll be there at 6. You are just not saying it. You are committing the act of promising. You promise that you will be there at 6. Okay, so in order to understand how utterances can be used to perform actions that are both direct or indirect, we need to visualize a relationship between the structure of an utterance or function an utterance. Okay, so moving on to the direct speech act. Direct speech acts uses interrogative structure. Okay, such as did you, or can you, is she, like that. You are interrogative. Okay, and it also used with this function of a question. Okay, so moving on, when you seriously want to know the answer of a question, okay, like is she wearing a wig, so that utterance is a direct speech act. Okay, okay, so another example would be if you really if we really don't know something and we ask for the information, we normally use a direct speech act. Okay, like can you ride a bicycle? Okay, so that you are asking someone's ability. Okay, the keyword for direct speech act is also you are asking for someone's ability. Okay, okay, so for indirect speech act, for example, can you pass the salt? Okay, so this means that you are not asking about someone's ability. Okay, you are just indirect. Can you pass the salt, like that? Okay, so we are using interrogative structure also to make a request. Okay, this one is a request, not asking for someone's ability, like the direct speech act. Like the direct speech act. Okay, so we are using interrogative structure to make a request, like, okay, can you pass the salt, instead of did you, is she, like the direct speech act just now.